What is going on, YouTube familia? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my experience with the cardiac stress test. I've had two cardiac stress tests back in 2001, back in 2014, and the second one in 2016. And the 2016 one, that test was one of the reasons as to why I ended up having a catheter ablation procedure. I noticed that I've talked about in my videos with a lot about my SVTs and, thinking that I had SVTs, and also with my heart racing, and then also the catheter ablation procedure. But I never talked about the test, that kind of led me to narrow to that, to make that decision and finally go through with the test. So let's talk about it. Back in 2014, I started having heart racing problems and heart racing issues. I remember one night I came back from school actually, and I had been working out, and I had been in class, and I felt like some type of discomfort in my chest, some type of just weird feeling around my chest area, right? So automatically, I thought it was my heart. I ended up going to the hospital, to the ER that night. That was my first time going to the ER because of my heart racing issues. I got tested, for everything. Everything turned out okay, except they wanted me to see a cardiologist just to make sure, I would get further testings and make sure my heart's, it's healthy and it's fine. So in 2014, I ended up having my first cardiac stress test. I remember going there, and the process, it's pretty, I feel like it was pretty simple. They had everything ready to go. And they told me to bring out, some comfortable clothes, maybe some sweatpants, some shorts, and, regular t-shirt, because obviously you were going to walk on the treadmill. And I think sometimes there's different type of stress tests that you can do. I know mine was specifically on the treadmill. I think I've heard of other ones being done on a bike, a stationary bike. So I'm not sure about that, but mine was on a treadmill. And when I first got there, I remember, let me backtrack real quick. So I did the cardiac stress test, but it was almost like an imaging stress test, if that makes sense, right? Because they took pictures of my heart, beating before and then after I had completed the cardiac stress test. It was really interesting because I remember them putting a dye, but I just don't remember if it was, I had the dye before I went into the test or it was after the test. But I do remember that after the test, I definitely got some images taken of me. And I don't know exactly if that's the name of the procedure, the cardiac stress test with images or imaging stress test. But I know I've heard of also like nuclear testing. I'm not sure if those are the same. So you're gonna have to do your research and see if those are the same. But I don't believe they are. But if you guys could tell me in my comments, that would be great. But mine was with images. The first one that I had, they took images before the stress test. I went into another room and I started walking on the treadmill. They put all these leads in to do EKGs and stuff. And I'm gonna tell you something personal about me, right? Whenever I do a test, I try to make sure that I do it to the best of my abilities. I want them to have the best data. I go in with a mindset of like, okay, let me do my best. Let me see what they can get out of it, and hopefully, if there's something wrong with me, then they can catch it, right? Because that's important. So I remember when I went to the test, they started, slowly in the treadmill, start walking, pacing a little bit. And then they start speeding it up, as every minute goes and it goes and it goes. And it got to a point where they elevated the treadmill. So, it was inclined. So I was, walking, and then started jogging and started running on incline. And as the time went on, the test got a little bit harder. But for me, I wanted to complete the whole test, right? For what they recommended, not, towards like I would just pass out or something. No. It was more like, there's a certain time limit. If you complete it, then that's great. So I wanted to complete it. I guess my competitive mindset kicked in. And when I was running, I was just really, really tired. I guess I was out of shape at that point. Or maybe just the test was just that hard, because jogging and running eventually on an incline, it's tough on you. So and it works your heart the most and the hardest, and that's the reason I was like, I gotta go through with it completely. So when I got done with it, I was really sweaty. They were measuring and on the side with all the leads, right? There was a they were seeing on the machine how my heart was beating, and this information was going to be sent to a cardiologist and electrophysiologist, so they can review it to see if everything was good to go. So eventually, a couple of days later, I got reached out by I think it's the assistant, and they were like, "Hey, the results came back. Everything was good." Because obviously, after the procedure, I went back into the room to get the another images and stuff. So all the images were good. I guess the dye with the blood flow and everything, my heart beating, that was good. So I was really good. So my heart was checked out. Now moving forward back to 2016, this is where my heart issues started really affecting me with my gastro issues, right? So I remember telling you guys, right, that your body talks to you, that it always talks to you before something bad is gonna hit you typically. And this is one of the times, right? I was in 2014, something happened in this area. I didn't know exactly what it was. So we thought it was my heart, but it wasn't. So we moved forward to 2016, and here we are again, right? I come back from work. It was a really tough day. I hadn't eaten anything maybe in about 10 to 12 hours, because that's just, the painting industry is just that way. We ate lunch like around 12 noon, and then when I came back home, I got home like at 11 o'clock. So the only thing that was open at that time was McDonald's, and that's what I got. I went home, I ate my McDonald's, and as soon as I ate my McDonald's, my heart started racing, and I was just freaked out, man. It was just a really, really scary moment. I reached out to my mom. I was like, hey, my heart's beating fast, and I mean, when your heart's beating so fast, I react a certain way specifically. I'm just like stunned. I'm just like stuck. I'm like, I'm just scared, hyperventilating and everything. But it's just like a shock, you know what I mean? Because it's like, oh my God, you start thinking of everything. Your life starts flashing in front of you. So that is when all my issues started. My gastro issues, my hiatal hernia, my reflux, my GERD, my regurgitation, all of it. And I ended up seeing a cardiologist. And once again, they requested and they recommended for me to have another stress test, right? Which I've done. So I went comfortably knowing what the test was like. But this time there was no images taken. It was just a straight up cardiac stress test on a treadmill. So, but this time though, there were actually different results. So I started doing the stress test, and same process again. You start slowly. They connect all these leads and to get the EKGs and everything. They connect them all over your body. You look like you've seen the movie Alien, where like he has all these little thing hanging around. That's what you look like, man. It's just they're trying to get everything and all the information, which I'm fine. I'm completely fine with that. You got to do what you got to do. So then again, here goes my competitive nature again. I try to complete the test, but this time after I completed it, my heart rate wouldn't go down past a certain level, right? So let's say, for example, when I was running and I completed the test, right? Obviously, my heart rate was really high. Let's say it was over 150, maybe 160, something like that. I don't remember exactly the number, but bear with me. So when it was going down as you were resting, my heart rate wouldn't go lower under like a 120, under like a 110. And I'm just like, the nurses or the people that were doing the test, they were a little bit concerned. They were like, why isn't your heart going down? And I'm like, I don't know, but I do know that I feel like something here is bothering me, right? And at that point, I didn't understand what it was exactly, but I knew that this wasn't normal compared to the last time. So that was a little concerning. So I sat down and I was waiting, and for some reason, when I was sitting down, my heart rate will go a little bit lower. But as soon as I stood up, even though I'm still resting, my heart rate would increase and go higher. And I'm like, yo, this is very weird. And they thought it was weird, and they've never seen something like that. So I had one of the people there that were like, I think, you know, this could be like a new, like new type of, I guess, heart disease or something, or like some type of new we might have to give it a new name, you know, in its own category, because when you're sitting down slowly, it seems like your heart's beating obviously slower, but it's also reading correctly on the EKG. But when I stood up and my heart rate started going a little bit higher, then the EKG wasn't reading normally, right? It was abnormal. So I'm just like, well, that's interesting. That's weird. So that's when they made the decision to send me again to another electrophysiologist to get tested so they can see my results and see what was going on. Now, looking back in retrospect, it was all due because of my, at that point, what I believe was my hiatal hernia. That's what was causing the heart abnormalities and reading on the EKGs. Because when I was sitting down, there was no pressure here. It was just, you know, laying. Everything was just normal, right? But when I was standing up, I was stretching a little bit. So I was stretching my diaphragmatic area. I was stretching my esophagus and maybe some nerves in there. And obviously my heart, remember my diaphragm muscle was working harder. My diaphragmatic muscle was working harder because I had just ran, you know, for like 8 to 10 minutes. So I had exercise, and that's the reason I figured and I think that it was causing me those issues. And the reason I say that is just because later on it became it just became something that became kind of normal for me with my heart racing issues and stuff. Whenever I would put pressure on my diaphragm, whenever I would run or do some type of exercises, my heart rate will increase higher than a normal person would, right? With normal health. But for me, it wasn't the case. So at that point, I didn't know though, right? And I was a little bit concerned. So I went back to the electrophysiologist. We made an appointment. When I got there, we talked about the exams. And to be honest, when she recommended that, when she saw my exams, my test results, and you know the results from the cardiac stress test, she was like, I would recommend you having a heart surgery. Dude, I'm telling you, when I heard that, my heart just like felt like it sank to my stomach. I felt like it was just like, dude, wait. I was like, wait, what? When I heard those words, I didn't listen to the rest of the things she was saying. In my mind, I'm like, homie, I am 20. At that point, I was 23. I'm 23 years old. I need a heart surgery. And then she started explaining, you know, it's not an open heart surgery. Because the first thing I was like, open heart surgery? I was like, no shot. Then she started explaining that it's a catheter ablation procedure. You know, she started explaining to me that, you know, they put the catheter through my one of my not, it's not my veins, the other one, not the veins. I know that's the one of my arteries, right? And you know, we're going through your heart to see, and we check, blah blah. She was explaining everything exact what a catheter ablation procedure was, and which I might make a video on, to be honest, so I can just talk about just that experience itself. But that's for another time. So I'm still kind of stunned, to be honest. When she said that, I'm still thinking about it. I just put myself back right now. My mind just went there, and I'm just like, dude, that was crazy. But eventually, I had a decision to make, right? Whether to go through the procedure or not. And as you guys know, I went through the procedure, and one of the reasons why I think it's, if not one of the main reasons why I went through the procedure, is because if I did have something, right? If I did have an electrical pathway shooting through my heart, then I wanted to take care of that early before it got worse, right? I also heard of WPWs where like there's instances where like athletes had, they haven't been diagnosed with a WPW, and then your heart, decides to just stop while, performing and doing any athletic activities, while your heart's at stress. And I was like, man, I still have hopes of being very active. I wouldn't want that to happen to me. So I have a choice to make. Very tough decision. I've covered this before in other videos, and I'm probably going to cover just that procedure itself and those moments again. But my decision to go through with it, and thank God everything was good. Everything was normal. I went through the whole procedure. They put me to sleep and everything, but turned out that 2 hours later I was good to go. But just the reason why I even went through that procedure is because of the cardiac stress test. That's what gave my electrophysiologist at the time the information of what she thought could be an electrical pathway shooting through my heart, and obviously the abnormalities that we saw on the stress test the second time, and me sitting down and then standing up, and the heart being normal, the heart beating normal, and the EKG reading abnormal. It's just like, yo, like everything led to that point. And it was all because of the cardiac stress test. And I don't think I've shared this information with my YouTube channel, but that's what basically was gave it away. I also had the what is that called, the ultrasound of my heart as well, but that turned out to be well. I've had that again several times, which I might discuss in another videos. And it was a really cool process, man. So for any of you guys that are going through cardiac stress test and experiences, this was just my two little experiences. It was not, I feel like it was a pretty straightforward process, pretty straightforward test, but it was a lot of complications between I guess the first one and the second one, and then obviously after moving forward, right? So if you have any questions on my experience, always ask. And I appreciate you guys watching, man. Just wanted to share this experience again. Hopefully it helped you guys in any way. And again, it was a little bit of a longer video, but I want to keep you guys, I want to give you like a whole story from beginning to end as to why it happened, the things that were going on, and I guess almost like a timeline so you guys can make up in your mind how it went, right? Because I want to give you as much detail as I can in that situation. So I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully this video helped you guys, and see you in the next one. Peace and love, baby.